Hey everyone! Today's story is about a strong black woman who fought against racism and betrayal inside a powerful company and how she rose from the shadows to become a true leader. If you want to hear stories about real struggles, strength, and survival, make sure to hit that subscribe button and join the community. Let's get into it. The house on Briarhill Lane didn't just whisper wealth, it screamed it. Marble floors, floor-to-ceiling windows, curated art on the walls, and a fountain out front that served no purpose other than to impress. Lena had been working there for just over a year. 23, black, quiet, and meticulous, she was the kind of employee who kept her head down and her standards high. Her uniforms were always crisp, her hair pulled into a bun, and her posture spoke of someone who'd learned early never to attract the wrong kind of attention. The owners? Mr. Weston Hale, early 30s, a self-made tech investor with a sharp jawline and calm charisma, and his wife, Camilla. 27, former runway model turned socialite. Stunning, sharp-tongued, and cold. But only when Weston wasn't around. When he entered a room, she became honey and silk. Her laughter was warm, her touch affectionate. But as soon as he left, the switch flipped. She barely looked at Lena. When she did, it was with clipped commands or silent glares. On that particular morning, Lena was wiping down the kitchen counters when she heard the front door open. She peeked around the corner and saw Camilla glide in, sunglasses still on, even though it was cloudy. Behind her was a man Lena had never seen before. Late 30s. Expensive shoes. The kind of smug smile that lingered longer than it should. They didn't see her. Lena had learned to move like a shadow, so she stepped back behind the hallway arch and listened. He'll never know, Camilla whispered, laughing softly. The shares are already being transferred. You're playing with fire, the man replied. What if someone talks? That's why we keep things clean. Camilla's heels clicked away toward the private study. Lena pressed her back against the wall, heart racing. Shares? Transferred? What was she talking about? That night, Lena couldn't sleep. She lay on her small twin bed in the guest quarters behind the main house, staring at the ceiling fan spinning above. Camilla was planning something dangerous. She thought about going to Mr. Hale. But what would she even say? Your wife is scheming? No proof. No specifics. Nothing except a whisper from behind a wall. And she was the maid. Who would believe her? Over the next few days, Lena watched more carefully. Camilla made more private calls in the garden. She whispered into her phone with the kind of urgency that didn't match her fake smiles. She locked her laptop when anyone entered the room. And more than once, Lena saw her tearing up papers and flushing them. Then came the conversation that changed everything. Camilla and that same man were in the study again. Lena had just been dusting the hallway nearby. She froze as she heard. Once it's all under my name, I'll file for divorce. And take him for everything. The house, the cars, the public sympathy, I'll play the heartbroken wife. Weston doesn't even know the prenup expired last year. The man laughed, low and cruel. Lena's hand trembled as she gripped the edge of a hallway table. This wasn't just betrayal. This was theft. A setup. The next morning, she made a choice. She began following Camilla. Not obviously, just quiet steps behind corners, short glances through glass reflections, silent movement between her duties. She kept a notebook hidden in her room. Every overheard conversation, every suspicious meeting, every mention of ownership or stock transfer, she wrote it all down. Dates, times, people. It felt dangerous, but necessary. Then it happened. Tuesday afternoon. Camilla was in the garden, speaking on the phone, pacing angrily. Lena had ducked behind the heavy curtains in the hallway window. She was watching quietly, notebook in hand, when a voice behind her made her freeze. What exactly do you think you're doing? Weston. He had come home early. Lena spun around, heart leaping. His brow was furrowed, his eyes full of sharp suspicion. Why are you hiding behind curtains watching my wife? Sir, Are you spying on her? Is this some kind of... She dropped the notebook and fell to her knees. Please. I need you to listen. He stared at her. Silent. Cold. Lena's voice cracked as she began. She's not who you think she is. Lena knelt on the polished hardwood floor, heart pounding so loud she could barely hear herself breathe. The marble hallway felt colder than usual, like the walls themselves had turned against her. Weston stood over her, arms crossed, jaw tense. You've got 10 seconds, he said. Explain why my housekeeper is spying on my wife. Lena looked up, her voice shaking. Because she's planning to take everything from you. His eyes narrowed. Excuse me. I've overheard things, conversations. She's moving your shares into her name behind your back. She's meeting with some man in secret. She's planning a divorce after it's done and wants to make you look like the villain. Weston let out a short, humorless laugh. You don't know what you're talking about. Sir, I swear, I'm not lying. I've written it all down. She reached for her notebook, still on the floor. He didn't even glance at it. Lena, do you have any idea how insane this sounds? My wife and I have been together for 5 years. Exactly, she said, rising slightly to her knees. You trust her. That's why you can't see it. And why would she do any of this? She's already rich. Lena looked him in the eye now. Some people don't want more money. They want everything. He didn't yell. He didn't threaten. He just stared. If this is some kind of stunt, you'll be fired. I won't tolerate this kind of paranoia under my roof. Lena nodded. Then fire me. But at least check. He walked off without another word. That night, Lena stayed up in her small room, staring at the notebook in her lap. She replayed every word, every overheard whisper, wondering if she should have kept quiet. Maybe she had just burned the only bridge she had. At midnight, someone knocked on her door. She jumped. When she opened it, Weston was standing there, still in his suit, eyes bloodshot. He held the notebook in one hand. Is this everything? She nodded. There's more. She's been meeting that man in the guest house sometimes, when she thinks no one's around. Weston stared at her like he was trying to read her soul. Then he did something unexpected. He handed her the notebook back. Don't follow her anymore, he said. If something's going on, I'll handle it. But I said I'll handle it. He turned and walked away, and she knew from his tone he didn't believe her. Not really. He just didn't want the help. Over the next 2 days, everything seemed normal. Camilla floated around the house with her usual fake sweetness. Weston acted like nothing happened, polite, focused, busy. But Lena could feel it. A current beneath the surface. And then, on Thursday evening, while Lena was folding linens near the master bedroom, she heard Weston's voice through the slightly open door. Why did I find emails on your iPad about share transfers, Camilla? Her heart stopped. What? Camilla said, sharp and defensive. You went through my iPad? Answer the question. You're paranoid. Is that why you're meeting Gregory Connors behind my back? The man I fired 3 years ago for embezzlement. Lena couldn't move. She could only listen. You have no idea what you're talking about, Weston. Then help me understand. Why is he helping you with corporate restructuring? Silence. Then Camilla said softly. So the little maid ran her mouth, didn't she? Weston didn't respond. But Lena could hear his breathing shift. He didn't yell. He just said, You need to leave. Now. You're kicking me out of my house? It was never yours. An hour later, Camilla stormed out of the house dragging 2 designer suitcases and shouting into her phone. She didn't even look in Lena's direction. The door slammed shut behind her. And just like that, the light cracked. That night, Lena was in the kitchen preparing tea when Weston walked in. He didn't look angry anymore. Just tired. You were right, he said quietly. Lena looked up, startled. I didn't want to believe it, he added. I thought I knew her. Turns out I just wanted to. She set the teacup down. I didn't mean to get involved. I couldn't stay quiet. Weston nodded slowly. You've got more integrity than most people I know. Then, after a pause, you don't have to stay the maid. Lena tilted her head. Sir, I could use someone I trust. Someone who sees what others don't. I'm rebuilding, and I want you with me. Lena stood frozen in the kitchen. The same kitchen where, for the past year, she had scrubbed marble counters, polished silver cutlery, and kept her voice small. Now Weston Hale was looking at her not as staff, but as someone he could trust, someone who mattered. Sir, I don't know anything about business, she said. You know how to observe people. You know how to stay quiet when it counts and speak up when it matters. That's more than most executives I've worked with. He wasn't offering her a CEO role, she knew that. But the tone in his voice wasn't condescending. It was sincere. He handed her a small leather notebook. This is where I keep my weekly plans, meetings, notes. If you're willing to help organize, follow up, keep things clean behind the scenes, consider it your new position. Assistant, not housemaid. Lena blinked. And what will people think? Let them think, Weston said. They already didn't see you. Time to show them who you are. That weekend, Camilla's absence echoed through the mansion like the absence of a storm after it passes. The air was lighter, but the damage lingered. Weston barely spoke of her. Lena didn't ask. He worked long hours in his study, pacing, calling lawyers, reviewing contracts. Sometimes she brought him coffee. He always said, thank you now. not just out of habit, but with meaning. On Monday, Lena stepped out of the guest quarters and into the house with her hairstyle down for the first time. She wore a fitted black blouse and slacks instead of her cleaning uniform. It wasn't much, but it was hers. She knocked gently on Weston's office door. "Come in." He looked up, paused. "That suits you." She smiled. "Thank you, sir." "No, sir. Just Weston." Lena hesitated, but nodded. "Okay. Weston." Their work began slowly. She shadowed him during meetings at the house, took notes, organized schedules, and answered emails. She didn't understand every business term, but she understood people. When a partner's tone shifted, when a lawyer paused too long, when someone smiled too wide, Lena picked up on it. And Weston noticed. "You hear more than I do," he told her one evening. "I've been in meetings for 10 years and still miss the signs." "That's because you walk into the room expecting to be listened to," she replied softly. "I've spent my whole life learning to listen." That made him pause. He looked at her with a strange kind of respect. Later that week, one of Weston's oldest investors, a smug, white-haired man named Chandler, came by. He glanced at Lena as she brought water to the meeting, then asked Weston, "New assistant?" "Yes," Weston replied. Sharp eye. "Smarter than most people in this room." Chandler laughed, awkwardly. Lena said nothing. But inside, she held the words close. A few days later, Lena was organizing documents in the study when she stumbled on a sealed envelope tucked inside one of Weston's leather folders. It was addressed in Camilla's handwriting. She paused, then brought it to Weston. "I wasn't snooping," she said quickly. "It was just there." He opened the envelope. Inside were photos. Camilla, with another man, different than the first, on a yacht, at a hotel, in his car. Lena turned to leave. "No," Weston said. "Stay." He looked at the photos again, slower this time. "I think." "I knew. But seeing it like this, it hits different." "I'm sorry," she said gently. "Don't be. You gave me a way out." Later that night, he knocked on Lena's door for the first time. He didn't come in, just leaned against the frame. "There's something else I haven't told you." She looked up. "Camilla had access to my startup's financial backend. She didn't just plan to take from me. I think she already did." "How much?" "Enough to ruin the next launch. Enough to destroy trust." Lena stepped forward. "Then let's fix it." Lena had never been in a boardroom. Not like this. Glass walls. Sleek black table. Designer chairs with backs taller than her. The entire floor of the building was quiet, sterile, a far cry from the linen closets and kitchen sinks where she used to spend her days. She stood just behind Weston's left shoulder, holding his binder and a pen. She wasn't there to speak. She knew that. But she was there. That was already more than she ever thought possible. Across from them sat 5 investors, all men, all older, all impatient. They glanced at Lena, unsure who she was. She saw the look. The one she'd seen 1,000 times. "You don't belong here." She kept her posture straight. Weston didn't introduce her. Not yet. He simply started the meeting, voice calm and direct. They were discussing a major product launch for Hale Systems, Weston's tech company, the launch Camilla had almost sabotaged from the inside. "We had a delay," Weston admitted, "due to internal issues that have since been handled." One of the investors, Chandler, the same smug man from before, leaned forward. "Handled how?" "You can't afford another scandal. Not after what happened with your wife." A silence fell over the room. Lena's hands clenched behind the folder. Weston didn't flinch. "What happened with my wife is irrelevant. The system is intact. I've personally restructured oversight." Chandler smirked. "With whose help?" "Your new assistant." Lena didn't move. She didn't look up. But Weston turned. "Yes," he said. "Exactly her. And she caught something none of your auditors did." The men blinked. Weston opened a file and slid a printed spreadsheet across the table. "This is from last quarter. Notice the double billing under shell contracts buried deep. Guess who helped catch it?" They looked at Lena now. No longer invisible. Just confusing. After the meeting, in the elevator, Weston said quietly, "You didn't say a word, but they'll remember you." Lena smiled slightly. "Let them wonder." The next few weeks moved fast. Lena was in rooms she never imagined being in. She still helped with small tasks, organizing, checking schedules, but Weston trusted her with bigger things now. Vetting clients, reviewing contracts, even speaking quietly into his ear before he made decisions. She never made it about power. She made it about protection. But not everyone liked the change. Especially not Grace. Grace was Weston's longtime executive assistant, a thin white woman in her 40s with an icy stare and a fake smile. She had run the office before Lena came along. Now she mostly watched and judged. One morning, while Lena was setting up for a call, Grace walked past her and muttered, "Sleeping your way into the office, huh? Bold strategy." Lena turned, stunned. "Excuse me." "You heard me," Grace said, not breaking stride. Lena stood frozen. Part of her wanted to shout. Another part wanted to disappear. Instead, she took a breath and walked into Weston's office. "Can we talk?" When she told him what happened, Weston's jaw tensed. "She said that to you?" "Yes." "That's grounds for dismissal." "No," Lena said. "I don't want her fired." Weston raised an eyebrow. "Then what do you want?" Lena looked him dead in the eyes. "I want to earn this, without the shadow of gossip. I need you to be clear with people about what I do and why I'm here." He nodded slowly. "Then I'll make it clear." That afternoon, during a team call with the company's top staff, Weston cleared his throat. "Before we begin, I want to address something." The room went quiet. "Lena is now my lead operations liaison. She has access to sensitive material, and her insight has already saved this company once. Any attempt to undermine her, directly or through whispers, will be dealt with as a violation of our conduct policy." Grace looked down. Lena said nothing, but her hands stopped shaking. That night, as they walked out of the building, Weston turned to her. "Still think you're just the maid?" Lena smiled. "I think I'm just getting started." The elevator doors opened onto the penthouse floor, Hale Systems headquarters, level 37. Lena stepped out before Weston, tablet in hand, wearing a tailored blazer and sensible heels. She moved with purpose now. It had been 3 weeks since Weston's public statement, and Lena had changed. Not in who she was, but in how she stood. Her shoulders weren't tense. Her eyes didn't flinch. Her voice didn't catch in her throat when she spoke in meetings. And when people looked at her, they didn't see just a maid who got lucky. They saw someone who belonged at the table. But not everyone celebrated her rise. Behind closed doors, whispers grew. They came from men like Chandler and women like Grace, those who were comfortable with their seats and uncomfortable with new ones being pulled up. "She's just a pet project," one muttered in the hallway. "It's all pity," said another. "This won't last. Girls like her never stay long." Lena heard none of it directly, but she felt it. In the pauses, the stiff greetings, the way some people avoided eye contact or over-explained things she already knew. It didn't break her. It sharpened her. One afternoon, Weston called her into his office. "We've got a problem," he said, tossing a thick folder onto the desk. Lena sat across from him. "Supplier fraud. One of our European partners is charging us for materials that were never delivered. Accounting caught a few errors. You think you can trace the pattern?" Lena opened the folder and scanned the documents. Her eyes moved fast, a habit from years of memorizing cleaning schedules and invoices at a glance. "They're duplicating shipments," she said. "Same invoice ID, different dates." Weston blinked. "You just saw that?" She shrugged. "Numbers tell stories. You just have to know where to look." He leaned back, smiling. "Remind me again why I didn't put you in charge months ago?" That night, Weston invited her to a client dinner, formal, upscale, nothing too flashy. The venue was a rooftop restaurant, all glass and fire pits and city lights below. Lena wore a soft gray dress and pearl earrings. Not expensive, but elegant. Understated. She didn't try to impress anyone. She just walked in like she belonged. At the table were 6 men, all older, all white. They barely glanced at her. One of them, Barrett, a venture capitalist with a booming voice, asked Weston, "Your wife not joining us?" "We're divorced," Weston said simply. "Ah, and this is..." Lena extended her hand. "Lena, operations lead." Barrett laughed lightly. "Pretty and professional. Dangerous combo." She didn't laugh, just smiled. "I prefer efficient and underestimated." Barrett paused. So did the others. Weston said nothing, just watched. During dinner, Lena stayed quiet until they began discussing product logistics and software rollouts. "Our bottleneck is shipment tracking," Barrett said. "We can't scale if your data is inconsistent." Lena leaned forward. "Actually, it's not inconsistency, it's latency. The system's receiving confirmations late because of time zone misalignment in Europe. We're rolling out a fix." Barrett blinked. "I see." And just like that, the table dynamic shifted. After dinner, as they stepped out into the night air, Weston looked at her. "You crushed that." Lena smiled. "They still didn't see me coming." That's their problem. But while her reputation inside the company was rising, something darker was brewing outside. Camilla was back in the city, and she wasn't quiet. Weston's legal team had begun forwarding him cease and desist letters, subtle threats, rumors she was planting, anonymous messages sent to investors questioning his leadership. He didn't tell Lena right away, but she noticed the change. The way he double-checked his car doors. The way he stared at his phone longer. The way his voice got quieter when speaking on certain calls. "She's not finished," Lena said one evening, handing him a printout. "She wants to ruin you, even from the outside." "She won't," Weston said, jaw clenched. "Because you'll stop her?" "Because we will." Rain tapped gently on the penthouse windows that morning, soft and rhythmic, like a warning in Morse code. Lena stood by the glass, arms folded, watching the gray clouds roll over the skyline. Something felt wrong. She could feel it in her chest, that pressure, like waiting for a shoe to drop. Weston entered the room behind her. "We need to talk," he said, tone low. She turned. "Camilla." He nodded. "She's made contact with Chandler." Lena's stomach turned. "The investor?" "Yeah. She's feeding him old texts, emails, twisting everything to make it look like I used company funds to hide assets during our marriage." "That's not true." "Of course not. But he's panicking. He's already pulled out of next quarter's meeting." Lena's jaw tightened. "She's not trying to get money anymore. She wants your name ruined." Weston sat down, running a hand through his hair. "And she knows how to do it. I trained her. I let her into every part of my business." Lena didn't speak. She just moved toward the shelf, pulled out the binder she'd built of internal audits, flagged communications, and her notes. "Then we do what she wouldn't expect," she said. "We tell the truth. Every uncomfortable detail. We lay it bare before she weaponizes it." Weston looked at her. "You'd risk your job for this? You gave me a job. You gave me dignity. I won't let her erase that." Over the next few days, Lena worked like she was preparing for war. She barely slept. She organized every document, cataloged every expense report Camilla could twist, preemptively highlighted discrepancies, and included Weston's legal explanations for each. It wasn't just paperwork. It was defense. She worked with Weston's lawyers to prepare a press strategy, a soft statement, clean facts, no dramatics. She insisted that transparency would beat manipulation, even if it hurt a little. But Camilla didn't slow down. She started appearing on local gossip sites. Anonymous quotes leaked to the media. Photos taken years ago, Camilla crying, Weston walking ahead, distorted and framed as cruelty. And the worst? A leaked email, heavily edited, where Weston seemed to admit using company resources to buy silence. "It's fake," Lena said. "But it looks real." "She has a burner team," Weston muttered. "She's using third-party firms to doctor this stuff. I can't prove it in time." "Then we go to someone who can." "Who?" She looked at him. "Me." The next morning, Lena walked into an underground coffee shop on the east side. The air smelled like burned espresso and old concrete. In the corner sat a woman in a hoodie with a laptop and 2 cell phones. "Zoya." The woman looked up. Tattooed fingers, piercing eyes. "You're the maid turned exec?" "Something like that." "I don't do charity." "Neither do I." "I'll pay you. And you'll help me prove a rich man's ex-wife is falsifying evidence to destroy him." Zoya smirked. "Finally. Something fun." For the next 48 hours, Lena worked with Zoya in secret. They traced metadata, reverse search photos, ran video frames through AI validators. Piece by piece, they uncovered the doctored layers, the cropped timestamps, the altered GPS info. They built a file. Thick, ugly, real. By Sunday night, Lena stood in Weston's office with Zoya's report on the desk. Everything Camilla leaked was either falsified, recontextualized, or illegally obtained. Weston flipped through the pages. His hands shook slightly. "She almost ruined me." But she didn't. He looked up at her. "Because of you. Because you listened." He smiled faintly. "I should have done that a lot sooner." Later that night, Lena walked home under the city lights. The rain had stopped, but the streets were still slick, glowing orange under the street lamps. She pulled her coat tighter. She wasn't afraid of Camilla anymore. But she was beginning to understand something deeper. This fight wasn't just about Weston. It was about her. About what it meant to stand your ground in a world that tells people like her to stay silent. On Monday morning, Weston called an emergency press conference. It wasn't dramatic, no flashing lights, no screaming headlines. Just a carefully worded statement read from the atrium of Hale Systems headquarters. Lena stood just off camera, heart pounding, holding the folder of documents that had nearly destroyed everything. There have been recent claims questioning my integrity as CEO and as a person, Weston said. Some of these were not only false, but deliberately manipulated. Today, we are releasing a full breakdown of these materials, with sourcing, timelines, and third-party validation. A QR code flashed on the screen behind him, linking to a transparency report Lena helped compile with Zoya's help. I'm not interested in dragging anyone through the mud, Weston continued, but I will protect this company and those who have stood by it with integrity. When he finished, the room was silent for a moment. Then the questions started, and he answered them all calmly, confidently, without evasion. Lena watched, not like a spectator, like a partner. The fallout came quickly. Camilla's gossip allies backed off once the evidence became public. Chandler, red-faced and bitter, issued a half-hearted apology for pulling out of the last meeting. A few minor news outlets printed retractions quietly, of course. But it didn't matter. Lena had won the fight most people never even knew was happening. That evening, Weston walked into the kitchen with 2 glasses of wine. Figured we earned this. She chuckled. You're giving me wine now? You saved my company. The least I can do. They sat at the counter. For a few minutes, they didn't talk about Camilla, or business, or the next battle. They just sat. Finally, Weston broke the silence. You ever think about leaving? Leaving what? The company. This life. Going somewhere else. Somewhere you don't have to prove anything every day. Lena stared into her glass. Sometimes. But I think that's what makes this worth it. Not just proving them wrong, proving myself right. He nodded slowly. You don't just belong here, Lena. You change the way things work here. Maybe. Or maybe I just remind people that they were looking in the wrong direction all along. But not all was healed. Late that week, Lena received a voicemail. It was Camilla. Congratulations, her voice rasped. You won the public. You won the moment. But don't get comfortable. You think you know him. You don't. You think he's different than me. He's not. I made him. Click. Lena replayed it twice. She didn't save it. She didn't tell Weston. But something in her shifted. The next day, she met with Weston in the strategy room to discuss future expansions, Asia markets, new apps, potential partnerships. But her mind kept drifting. You okay? Weston asked. Yeah. Just tired. You don't look tired. You look distant. She hesitated. Do you think people ever really change? Or do they just hide better? Depends, he said. Are we talking about people like Camilla or people like me? I don't know. Maybe both. He looked at her for a long moment. I don't expect you to trust me blindly. Hell, I'd be worried if you did. But I'm not pretending anymore. I've got too much to lose. So do I. That night, Lena walked home alone. She passed by her old apartment building, the one with rusted pipes and peeling paint. The place where she used to wake at 5 a.m. to catch 2 buses just to clean bathrooms she'd never use. She stood on the sidewalk, watching a family carry groceries inside. And suddenly, she felt the weight of it all. The war was public now. But the wounds were private. She had survived Camilla. She had risen in a world that tried to erase her. But survival didn't mean safety. And power didn't mean peace. Lena didn't sleep much that night. Camilla's voice echoed in her head, not just the words, but the certainty behind them. You think he's different than me? He's not. The next morning, she sat in her apartment with a black notebook open in front of her, something she hadn't touched in years. It was filled with names, memories, moments. Notes from her childhood, her early jobs, her first time being talked down to by a client in a silk robe. On the last page, she wrote, "They'll never give it to you freely. You have to take your place." Then she closed it and got to work. Back at Hale Systems, things were tense again, not because of Camilla, but because of Lena. Ever since the press conference, people had started calling her Weston's right hand. Some with respect, some with bitterness. Some, like Grace, barely concealed their resentment. And Chandler? He wasn't done trying to make her disappear. One afternoon, Weston called her into the conference room. Chandler's bringing in an external consultant to review internal processes. He says it's about transparency, but it's really about control. Lena frowned. You're letting him? I can't block it without making it look like I'm hiding something. But I want you in that room. Every meeting. Every report. You want me to babysit the consultant? No. I want you to shadow him. He's going to try to dig into you too. Your past. Your qualifications. Be ready. Lena nodded. Always. The consultant arrived the next day. A tall man in a sleek gray suit. Blonde. early 40s. British accent sharp enough to cut glass. I'm Thomas Ashbridge, he said, shaking Lena's hand a little too firmly. Heard you're the one to watch. That's one way to put it, she replied, not flinching. He smirked. Let's begin, shall we? The next week was a blur of meetings, document reviews, back-channel conversations. Thomas was professional on the surface, polite, respectful, almost overly so, but Lena knew the type. He asked too many questions, dug too deep into irrelevant details. Once, he mentioned her old address from 10 years ago. Funny place to come from, for someone now sitting at the executive table, he mused over coffee. Lena stared at him. You think I don't remember where I came from? Just saying, he shrugged. Climbing that far? Usually someone gives a little boost. She smiled tightly. They didn't give me a boost. They gave me a mop. I turned it into a sword. On Friday afternoon, Chandler showed up unannounced. He walked into Weston's office, didn't knock. Lena was there, going over strategy notes. We've got a problem, Chandler said. Thomas found inconsistencies in hiring protocol. He's recommending a full rear view of your staff. You mean me? Lena said flatly. I didn't say that, Chandler replied, ice cold. But you don't exactly have a traditional resume. What do you want? Weston asked. Her removed. Quietly. Let her resign with dignity. Lena didn't look away. I'm not going anywhere. Chandler smirked. It's not your call. It is, Weston said. She's staying. Then I'm out. My capital, my name, my support, all of it. You'll regret this. Weston stood. Go ahead. Walk out. But understand this. You'll be remembered as the man who tried to erase the woman who saved this company. Chandler turned on his heel and left. Lena looked at Weston. You didn't have to do that. Yes, I did. You might have just lost your biggest investor. I can find others. I won't find another you. Lena exhaled. That's the first time someone said that without meaning it like a compliment they didn't believe. I don't compliment people, Weston said. I respect them. That night, Lena walked past the lobby security. One of the guards, a woman who used to barely nod at her, stood and smiled. Miss Holloway, she said. Good to see you again. Lena smiled back. Respect didn't come with the title. It came with the scars you were getting there. And she had earned every one. Lena woke the next morning with an unusual calm. No dread in her chest. No tension in her shoulders. Just silence. Control. For the first time in a long time, she wasn't playing defense. She was deciding the moves. At work, the fallout from Chandler's exit was immediate but manageable. Weston held a short meeting with the board, citing irreconcilable values, and Lena backed him up with quiet strength and a folder of data on how their growth had been accelerating since her promotion. No one argued. They saw it too. They just hadn't admitted it yet. Later that day, Weston called her into his office. He looked tired but energized, like a man who'd finally cut off a festering limb. I want to restructure leadership, he said. You'll be part of the new executive committee. Lena raised an eyebrow. I thought I already was. Not officially. Now you will be. Title. Equity. Full benefits. And I want you to lead the mentorship initiative for our new hiring pipeline. Lena blinked. You want me to hire more people like me? No. I want you to decide who deserves a shot, regardless of background. She didn't answer right away. Her mind flashed back to janitor shifts. Cold break rooms. Clients who never looked her in the eye. The office where she once wasn't allowed to speak unless spoken to. Now she would build something better. I'll do it, she said. By the end of the week, she had a small team, 2 analysts, 1 operations assistant, and a college intern who reminded her painfully of her younger self, sharp, quiet, hungry. Lena didn't sugarcoat anything. You'll work harder than most. People will assume you're here because of a favor. But if you're good, and I mean really good, they won't be able to ignore you. The intern nodded. Yes, ma'am. Don't call me ma'am. Call me Lena. Now get to work. Meanwhile, Weston was still fighting Camilla, this time through lawyers, trying to claw back leaked IP and sue for damages. Lena stayed out of it, mostly. She had bigger things to focus on now. But one night, she received a text. Unknown. You built a kingdom out of a closet. But remember, kingdoms burn. No name. No ID. Just the message. She stared at it for a long moment, then deleted it. The next day, as Lena stepped into the elevator, she caught her reflection in the mirrored walls. Hair neatly pulled back. Earrings sharp. Blazer tailored. Badge clipped. She didn't see a maid. She didn't see a fraud. She saw her. The version of herself no one had allowed her to believe in before. After work, she met Weston for a late dinner at a quiet rooftop spot. Just the two of them. No press, no strategy talk, just wine, food, and night air. You know, he said, I've been CEO for almost a decade. Thought I'd seen every kind of storm. But nothing prepared me for you. She laughed. Was that a compliment? I think it was fear, disguised as awe. Good, she said. Let him be afraid. They sat in silence for a while, overlooking the city. Then Lena spoke. You ever wonder what it feels like to finally arrive? To not just survive, but own the room? Yeah, Weston said. Feels like you. It started quietly. An email. No subject. One attachment. Lena hesitated before clicking. It was from an anonymous account, but the metadata traced back to a burner in Switzerland, the kind Camilla's people had used before. The attachment was a scanned letter. Real ink, real signature. It was Camilla's handwriting. The letter wasn't a threat. It was a confession. I always knew he would pick someone like you. Sharp. Determined. Black. Not just black, American. The kind that claws her way up because the world gave her no ladder. The kind that still believes merit can beat bloodlines. And maybe that's why I hate you more than I ever hated Weston. Because you were never meant to win. You were the maid. The help. The invisible hand behind the crystal glass. You weren't supposed to become the story. But you did. And even if I burn every bridge, they'll still remember you. And that terrifies me. Lena read the letter 3 times. Then she printed it, folded it, slipped it into her bottom desk drawer. She didn't need to use it. Not yet. Some truths were more powerful left unsaid. 2 weeks later, the board met for their quarterly review. Lena sat at the long glass table, seat 6, directly across from Weston. To her right, an older white man who used to ignore her in elevators. Now he asked for her input before speaking. She took her turn in the agenda: new hires, mentorship program growth, inclusion metrics. At one point, someone tried to challenge her data. She didn't raise her voice. She just smiled and said, I didn't come here to take up space. I came here to own it. Silence followed. Then a nod. Then applause. That night, she walked into the executive lounge, a space she used to clean on weekends. The same mahogany walls. Same fireplace. But now her name was on the door. She sat in the leather chair by the window, legs crossed, wine in hand. She wasn't dreaming. She was living it. Weston eventually joined her, late as always. You know what the CFO just said? He laughed. He called you a necessary disruption. I'll take it, she smiled. Could be worse. Could be irrelevant. Exactly. Then he paused. Lena, you ever want to run this company? She blinked. You mean someday? I mean, maybe not so far off. Lena didn't answer. Not right away. She looked out the window. City lights blinking like a code only she could read. If I do, she said, it won't be to prove them wrong. Then why? To prove me right. The elevator opened. Someone stepped in. The young intern Lena had hired. She looked nervous, carrying too many papers. Lena gestured for her to come sit. Offered a glass of water. Asked what was stressing her. Listened. The girl relaxed. Laughed. Left with her shoulders a little lighter. And as the door closed, Lena felt something shift in her chest. She wasn't just in the room now. She was the room.